The me today just would have not even been an issue. It would have been like, they either need to leave the field. you know, and then again, this is an adult speaking versus or whatever, a 12-year-old.
So yeah, I don't want to take all of your time up, so we better end it off. We have two more questions. Looking back at those 20 plus years in high school, how has your relationship with the young man evolved?
It's a good question, Daryl. Well, part of it is what I started to talk about a little bit. Sometimes I wish I fought harder for people. And when I talk about this again, it's really like little things. Because, okay, right? So part of being an actor is observing. I observe everyone, probably in a very different way than the average Joe or Jane or Samson. I really observe people's energy, their habits, and at this point in my life, it's just subconscious, but I pick up on all those things. So I'm disappointed in myself in some ways for not speaking up more and being an advocate more. Because like you're saying, like you talk about me in a very positive, nice way and what you saw in me, but I always felt like I was just under the cool crowd, you know, like I always felt like on the buses from track meets and stuff, like if you and Stu and Steve and like all, you know, if you guys were all together, it's like I was always kind of like never not welcome, but it just wasn't my, you know. And so there were different instances of those. I was lucky enough that I pretty much got along with everybody, and therefore was exposed to a lot of different groups and cliques. And so especially in sports, like some of the bullying, and I think in sports I get frustrated for not being more of an advocate and standing up for some of the bullying I witnessed. Now some of the bullying happened to me too. It's like, yeah, but I had an opportunity to change that moment, right? And then within the theater world, it's like having peers that were either out at the time openly, which is like very rare for that time period, and to be that young and be out. You know, experiences then where I wish I would have stepped up and I remember stuff in middle school on the bus that some of the guys, the way they would treat the women on the bus. If that were me now, I mean, like it just wouldn't, that would have never happened. Just like verbal taunting and abuse and physical stuff that like, you know, like that men would do with, well, some of the boys would do with some of the girls at that time, because this was like middle school, right? Yeah, and you know, I just think there's so many people I look back on, and like I remember during one of our soccer games, I think this is when we were, Daryl, I think this is when I was on, maybe, I felt like we were younger, but because you never played for the Storm, right? You were always on Jeff's team. So I think I played with you guys for like one season, and I remember being out on the field, you know, and of course you were the superstar that you were, and you were schooling everybody, and these kids get pissed off, so they start throwing around the N-word and start calling you the N-word. And I vividly remember this, Daryl. I vividly remember it. And understandably, you got upset, and there was probably physical stuff that happened back and forth. and like I didn't even really say anything. And it's like, and it's not because I just didn't have the me today. It would have not even been an issue. It would have been like, they either need to leave the field. You know, and then again, this is an adult speaking versus a whatever, a 12-year-old. But I wish we had stood behind you more. I wish we had stood up for you more. And it's not that we weren't, but we weren't enough.
I felt
Even
alone.
down, see, there you go.
Yeah. Sometimes I
think
look back
about
as
that.
like, did anyone watch me actually play? Like, I ran a full field against Brighton and scored a goal. Like, that's, you don't see that. And like, no one
Yeah.
ever, you know, people don't care. Not out of care. They don't acknowledge those things, I'll say. And it's like, maybe I remember it differently than they do. Maybe these things didn't really happen. Sometimes I wonder about that. But yeah, I'm glad you remember that
I,
moment, because that's a
I
very
remember
defining
that.
moment. That's the first
I
time I was
remember
ever
that.
called the N-word ever in my life.
Wow. See,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so I vividly remember that, and it's like, and apart from this, from you doing this podcast, like I've thought about that moment throughout my life, and still am ashamed that I didn't like do more. So I
No one ever
apologize
said it. No
for not
coach,
doing
no
more.
nothing. No
That's
one
the
said
thing.
anything. Yeah.
This is what is, you know, I mean, whatever, you can create excuses for a 12 or whatever however old we were. But yeah, the referee, the coach,